Good morning, everyone. Saturday morning. This is a very impromptu stream, as I sometimes do, or maybe do more frequently now. StreamYard's telling me I'm having some kind of broadcasting deficiency, and now that warning is gone. So if I'm breaking up or something, do let me know. But otherwise, hope you're all doing well this morning. Yes, so as I am wont to do for my own edification and possibly self-harm, I occasionally look up videos on YouTube regarding diversity hiring, just because I'm always curious to know what's the latest and greatest in diversity hiring. You know, one of my favorite subjects to discuss. And, well, I did that this morning, and I found this brief 5-minute video, and it was essentially five things people get wrong about diversity hiring. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll be proven wrong in this 5-minute video as compared to the hundreds of hours of other stuff I've looked at over the last 5 years. Who knows? It's possible. And I was still waking up. I was feeling a little groggy, a little grumpy. I don't know. And then the first minute of this video gave me such a belly laugh. I had to stop and say, I don't know if the subsequent 4 minutes of this video is going to be as entertaining, but I'm going to roll the dice and I'm going to see if anybody wants to come along with me. So that's why we're here. And holy cats! Well, let me get to the hellos first. And then Mike Savage, Mike R., Swirl Blue, Jaeger Pony, Eric Peters, Funtime Bats, The Magister, Lurking Gopher, Otho May, Taco Cultist, Neon Leon, and ex-Bubba Hotep. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Bubba. I hope you're well. Thank you so much. That's very generous of you. Ebony Williams, Simon Willikins, good morning. All right, so this is going to be, I think, relatively brief. The video is only about 4.5 minutes long. I cut out the musical number at the beginning to avoid any possible copyright issues. So full disclosure, I have watched about the first minute and 9 seconds of the original video. And then I stopped. And you'll see why. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that the additional 4 minutes will be as informative. But with that, start off with a couple of seconds for sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then we will proceed forward.
Because of the work that I do in helping employers to implement effective diversity recruiting programs.
Okay, the echoey is unavoidable. That was the recording quality. I cleaned it up a little bit, but can you hear that all right? The kind of work that she does in advising equity programs. Texas Attorney General Secret Agent, good morning. Sounds good. Scribe Light says Mike R. All right. So I'll back up a little bit just so we get the full context, just to make sure.
Because of the work that I do in helping employers to implement effective diversity recruiting programs, I've seen a lot of resistance that comes with this work.
She's seen a lot of resistance, and I can understand why, because, it's kind of an iffy situation about exactly what does diversity mean and what would you need to do to achieve it. And thank you, Ebony Williams, for the sexiest Kermit impersonator. It's not easy being green. Oh, I think Piggy is angry. Thank you, Ebony. God, I haven't heard the Kermit thing in a while. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Something like that. All right. Thank you, Ebony. Appreciate it. All right. So yes, some people might have some doubts or questions or be hesitant about it because of the implication. But
and I often find that the resistance is due to prior misconceptions about what diversity recruitment is and what it is not.
Okay, so resistance to diversity recruitment is usually fueled by prior misconceptions. All right. Well, I am ready to have my misconceptions challenged. And I mean that sincerely. If I'm wrong or if I have something off, I want to know it. So let's go.
I believe wholeheartedly in clearing up misconceptions as part of unlearning and relearning. And so we're going to start here with this video. And I'm going to share with you 5 misconceptions about diversity recruiting.
Oh, boy. I'm excited. I've already gotten through one, kind of. I can't wait for the other 4. Oh boy.
So here are the top 5 things that I want you to know about what diversity recruiting is not.
Okay, remember, this is the 5 things that diversity recruiting is not. All right, so these are misconceptions, misapprehensions that people possess about diversity recruitment and hiring. Okay, all right.
First, diversity recruiting is not a blanket strategy to hire only Black and Latinx people into.
Okay, diversity recruiting is not a blanket strategy to hire only Black and Latinx people.
Your organization. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Diversity recruiting increases representation where there's been historical underrepresentation in the workplace.
It increases representation where there's been historical underrepresentation. Okay, well, how?
For some employers, diversity recruiting may mean increasing representation in your candidate pool.
Okay, that's where I lost it. That right there, perfect screenshot right there. That shrug made me absolutely lose it, because it doesn't mean just hiring people because of what they look like. It might mean increasing the diversity of your candidate pool. Shrug. I was like, really? We're not even like a minute into this, and okay, all right. Thank you again, Ex-Bubba Hotep. On a number from 1 to 5, how much do I need my oven mitt? You mean for, insulating your hand when you face palm? I don't know. On this first one, it might be a 2, but depending on how far we go with this, it might be a 5. I don't know. We'll find out together. Thank you, Ex-Bubba Hotep. Okay, I'm going to back up again just for the full context of that statement, because that was just something else. I just...
is not. First, diversity recruiting is not a blanket strategy to hire only Black and Latinx people into your organization. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Diversity recruiting increases representation where there's been historical underrepresentation in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
For some employers, diversity recruiting may mean increasing representation in your candidate pool among men. For some organizations, it may mean veterans. For others, it may specifically mean Black women in leadership roles.
Specifically mean Black women in leadership roles. Okay, so, and at this point, after that shrug is essentially where I stopped. So everything after that point, I haven't listened to yet. Okay, so it's not about exclusively hiring people, and regardless of what the color is, hiring people on the basis of their race. But it is about increasing hiring people on the basis of their race, and in this case, their gender. Okay, well, that certainly cleared up that myth and or misconception, didn't it?
Increased diversity in every company looks different, so the diversity recruitment strategies must mirror that initiative.
What does that mean? What does that have to... How does that dispel the presumption that diversity recruitment and hiring focuses in on filtering people on the basis of their race? Nothing of what you said in response to that purported myth dispelled that myth. And your shrug was the first red flag.
Next, diversity recruiting is not affirmative action or a quota system.
Diversity recruiting is not affirmative action or a quota system. Even though in your own statement previously, diversity recruiting was about hiring people who are historically underrepresented in the workplace. And what is the, most altruistic interpretation of affirmative action again?
The opportunities afforded by diversity recruiting increases access to apply and be fairly assessed for open positions.
Whoa. Sorry. Okay, let's try that again.
The opportunities afforded by diversity recruiting increases access to apply and be fairly assessed for open positions.
The opportunities created. But you just said a minute ago that you wanted, at least in part, to focus on giving Black women positions of leadership. So aren't you eliminating opportunities for everyone who does not fall into those demographics in that example?
Assessed for open positions. It doesn't guarantee anyone an offer.
It doesn't guarantee anyone an offer. If you're filtering by prerequisites that have nothing to do with merit, it is inherently denying other people an offer. It may not guarantee any one person an offer, no, but you are restricting who gets such offers, aren't you? Or have I missed something?
To apply and be fairly assessed for open positions. It doesn't guarantee anyone an offer. The hiring team still has the responsibility of selecting the most competitive candidate, regardless of how a person identifies.
Then why do you at all mention gender or race in any of your previous examples? Why bring it up? Why is it even part of the conversation if that is not a consideration point in recruitment, hiring, or promotion? Right? If you're trying to dispel the notion that diversity and inclusion hiring is based around race and or gender and or demographic fit rather than merit, why bring up anything beyond merit? And by the way, that did not dispel at all the myth. You need to give me an example. You need to give me an example where someone said, this is like this, and then you show by the process, by the strategy, whatever, that that's not the case. Or at least in your experience. I can imagine that there are plenty of people out there calling themselves diversity, equity, and inclusion hiring consultants who do not work on an even keel, let's say. Okay, but as far as you are concerned, our speaker, you need to tell me how what you do acts in counter to this myth, in counterpoint, I should say. And you haven't done that in any case so far. So, okay.
Identifies. Next, diversity recruiting is not reverse discrimination.
Okay, well, I'll give you that on its face because reverse discrimination is an absolute misnomer. There's no such thing as reverse discrimination. There's just discrimination. So that's kind of a gimme. Okay.
Reverse discrimination is the practice or policy of showing a preference to individuals belonging to groups known to have been discriminated against previously.
No, that's just called discrimination. And it's not groups, it's demographics. Unless we're talking about something completely different. And I don't know what we're talking about now. But okay, yeah, the concept of quote unquote reverse discrimination is sort of like what's the word I'm looking for? The non-word. I don't use it very often, so it doesn't come to me very often. It's that thing where you say the thing, but it doesn't mean actually what it means. Yeah. Anyway. Irregardless. That's what I was looking for. Irregardless. That's what reverse discrimination is like. Irregardless. It's a nonsense word that doesn't mean what it's supposed to mean. It just doesn't. Anyway. Okay, so if it's not reverse discrimination, then what is it?
A recruiter's goal in diversity recruitment is to fill the candidate pool in a way that is representative of those who are available in the workforce.
Representative. It's an interesting word you put in there. Representative of what exactly? What are they there to represent? And by what metric do you decide whether someone represents something? This is the clarification that we need here, and you're not giving it.
those who are available in the workforce. Again, the hiring team still has the responsibility of selecting the most competitive candidate.
Yes, but okay, the most competitive candidate after what filters have been put in place. Okay, because if you are allowing for, or more specifically, denying certain demographics opportunities because they do not quote unquote represent what you decide needs to be represented in the workforce, yeah, the resulting pool after you have filtered for race and or gender and or ethnicity and or whatever, religion, orientation, etc. Yeah, the people you have after the filtering process, yes, find the most competitive amongst those people. That's not the issue. That's not the issue. It's that first step. It's that decision point when you're creating your pool before you do the interviews. Are you filtering on the basis of gender and or race and or ethnicity and or orientation at any point in this process? I mean, it sounds like you're talking about it right at the beginning, who you're going to target for actually offering the opportunity to, which is bad enough. But at any point in the process, if you're doing that, that's where we start stepping on the line of federal law. Okay. So you don't get forgiven. You are not cleansed of question just because you say, oh, the hiring team looks for the most competitive person amongst this pool of candidates. You know, the pool that we've already put through a filter of discrimination. That doesn't absolve you. It doesn't.
Regardless of how a person identifies.
A person identifies. Well, how does the recruitment team identify the people? You're talking about representation. You said that the hiring team has to pick people who are representative of the world around them or whatever. Okay. What constitutes representation if not a filtering for an aesthetic, for a demographic? I don't know what you mean when you say that. And it completely belies the notion that you're dispelling myths about this process.
As a matter of fact, while I have your attention.
Oh, the sales. Well, I mean, I guess I kind of opened the door for that one.
I just want to know, have you already had a chance to grab the copy of our free checklist called Platinum Checklist for Hiring Leaders?
Ooh, I should probably get that. I should probably get that. Maybe I'll go over that at another point.
It's 10 immediate actions leaders must stop doing in order to increase diversity.
Ooh, stop doing. Let's see. Well, actually, she just kind of scrolled through it for us here. Actually, I don't need to download it. Let's just back up a little bit. Below are the 10 immediate actions leaders must stop to increase diversity. Let's count down. Number 10, stop exclusively sourcing on platforms disproportionately overrepresented by the same groups already overrepresented in your organization. Source and recruit on platforms disproportionately overrepresented by groups underrepresented in your organization. For example, source on platforms overrepresented by Black women if your organization is underrepresented by Black women. Number 9, stop allowing interview team members to submit non-value added feedback. All interview feedback must relevant. Must relevant and connected to the qualifications of the job, clear and understandable, timely in order for the feedback to help the hiring manager make a solid and effective selection decision. I'm reading it as it was written, sort of, because there was a big space in between words. And okay, all right, that was number 9. Number 8, stop approving invalid job descriptions and stop posting job descriptions that are ineffective in attracting candidates from historically underrepresented backgrounds. Job descriptions should be inclusive and should not be so constricting and present barriers that they exclude eligible candidates. Job descriptions should solicit skills that are reasonably available in the workplace. Job description should solicit skills that are, and this is in bold, reasonably available in the workplace, and they should address the knowledge, skills, and experience aligned to the job duties. Reasonably available? I don't know what that means. That sounds like you're lowering the expectation standard. What? Number 7, stop asking irrelevant interview questions. All interview questions should be related to the knowledge, skills, and experience necessary to carry out the duties that are specified in the job description. Can you give me an example of an irrelevant interview question? I mean, that's not like comical, like something you'd actually hear. No? Okay. Number 6, stop holding on to the ideal that being a good person is enough to increase diversity. Being a good person does not free you of bias. Everyone has bias, no matter the race, ethnicity, gender, etc. Even with the best intentions, always measure the impact and outcomes of hiring decisions, especially in diversity recruiting and hiring. Okay, how do I measure the impact? By what metric do I measure impact? Number 5, stop allowing untrained and unqualified interviewers to assess candidates from historically underrepresented backgrounds. Well, what constitutes a trained and qualified interviewer in this case? Do you need a specialized training and qualifications to interview someone from a historically underrepresented background? Make it mandatory that every interviewer receives interview training that includes best practice interview techniques, disrupting unconscious bias in hiring, and raising cultural awareness to start building cultural competence. Oh, cultural competency. One of my favorite subjects. Right. Okay. So people that look a particular way need to be treated in a special way, is what you're telling me, without actually saying it out loud, because you use underrepresented backgrounds as a synonym for, I think we know what you're talking about. And of course, if you said it out loud, you might be. Number 4, stop granting promotions based on unwritten rules to success. The hiring obstacle course is an internal problem too. The hiring obstacle course is an internal problem too. Increasing diversity at all levels within the company means being transparent about the qualifications it takes to get to the next level and creating an equitable internal hiring process that all employees have access to. I mean, again, I would love some examples. Yeah, okay. Number 3, stop trying to fix employees and fix the obstacles they face within your environment. What? Increasing diversity also includes the ability to retain employees from marginalized populations. Retention requires an inclusive environment. Rather than praising employees who can withstand your current environment, create an environment where all employees can be successful. So, equity, equality of outcome. If people aren't able to keep up, lower the expectations so that everyone can keep up. Is that good business strategy? I have to ask. Thank you, Expo Hotep again. Whenever I hear everyone has bias, all I hear is the person saying, I have bias, so you must as well, you bigot. Yeah, there's that. Also, it's also feeds into the anti-racism belief system that, racism is prevalent in all things, in all people, at all times. So it is a constant state of being for everyone and everything, so no one can deny it. To deny it would just make you a liar, because you obviously have it, because everybody has it. And of course, everybody has bias, but we're not just talking about like whether you prefer asparagus or not. No, we're talking about, well, obviously, everyone has bias about people based on what they look like, obviously. Okay, number 2, stop permitting leaders to hire based on institution and gut feelings. Like, how? I mean, if that is part of their process without saying it, how would you know that they're doing it? A gut feeling, intuition, these are ephemeral. Decisions based on a subconscious feeling or comfort with a candidate rather than thoughtful evaluation of reasoning inherently includes a certain amount of confirmation bias. But we all possess bias. We can't get away from it or get rid of it. So, all right. And number 1, stop ignoring and avoiding your resistance. Yeah, if you have any hesitation about something, just as everyone experiences bias, we all experience varying degrees of resistance. If applicable, what holds you back from talking about matters related to diversity? Yeah, if you have a hesitation about something, why do you have a hesitation about something? Explain. What prevents you from fully connecting to individuals who identify uniquely to you? In other words, tell me why you're a racist or a sexist or some other kind of. Are you concerned that you may say or do the wrong thing and ultimately get in trouble or labeled as a bad person? Well, explain to me the definition of microaggression, and then explain to me the reaction people have to them when they decide to see them in the workplace. I don't know. Is there such a danger these days? You tell me. The fastest way to increase diversity within your organization is to first get to the bottom of your resistance so that you are able to lean all the way into diversity recruiting. Yes. Confess your sin as an inherent racist and or sexist, etc. Only then can you work towards a more equitable future. Okay, platinum checklist for hiring professionals. As a hiring leader on a mission to increase diversity, I will stop exclusively sourcing on. Oh yeah, okay. So these are the 10. We're just going over them again. Okay, all right.
To increase diversity. I hope you grab it, download it, and enjoy it.
I've enjoyed it so far. It was amazing. It was amazing the double talk. It was amazing the inherent implications. If somebody has doubt or questions or wonders if this is a smart thing to do, obviously they have inherent biases and or resistances to people who are uniquely unto them, etc. Oh yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Thanks.
The link to it is in the description below.
Okay.
Diversity recruiting is not about making exceptions or giving handouts.
It's not about making exceptions or giving handouts. Okay. I know I'm asking rhetorically, as always. Explain to me what you meant by representative earlier on. You said that and just kind of moved past it. If there is a decision point where you have to select a hiring pool on the basis of quote unquote representation, define what you mean by that, because that sounds like an important point in the process. And also that shrug when creating your talent pool.
Groups that are underrepresented in your organization, they don't need handouts. They don't need special treatment.
Well, what if it's a person like, I don't know, as you said at the beginning, what if it was a Black woman? Should I consider that person for a leadership role over others because of what she is? Because that's what you advised that I do earlier in this talk. And would I be doing that as a handout? Would I be doing that as an effort of diversity? What would you call that if those were the criteria by which I was giving someone an opportunity?
They don't even need employers to bend rules in their favor.
Are you sure about that? Hashtag John Cena. Really? What have you been talking about up to this point without actually talking about it?
In order for individuals from historically underrepresented backgrounds to be employed within your organization and to get ahead in your organization, they need you to see the bias, disrupt the bias, and radically reduce it to build equitable hiring processes.
Okay, so I need to, as a preamble to anything else, look at either employees I have or people I may employ, first and foremost, on what I assess to be their place in or out of an underrepresented background. And then give consideration. Are you listening to yourself right now? You are doing point by point nothing to dispel what you say are myths and are only underlining them. and supporting those myths, except they're not myths, are they? If this is what you're advising. Okay.
Diversity recruiting doesn't mean giving certain candidates an advantage.
You just said to assess people on the basis of their place within underrepresented demographics or backgrounds. Okay. What is that but a filtering process on the basis of race or gender or you name it that is outside the realm of merit? And then giving those who you have filtered through a special consideration based on what they are, what demographic they fall into. You've already done it. That is the special consideration. You are excluding people from opportunities because they don't fall into certain demographics. How is that not providing special treatment? Not even a breath occurs between statements that are entirely contradictory of one another. Let's go back just for a second.
Hiring processes. Diversity recruiting doesn't mean giving certain candidates an advantage. It is not charity. What it means is removing the landmines and roadblocks that are creating disadvantages for them.
If you're removing landmines and roadblocks that you perceive as being inherently obstacles to certain people on the basis of their demographics, by hamstringing other people on the basis of their demographics, you are providing special treatment. If you're going to assume bias and thereby exclude people who would look bad if you hired them, you're providing special treatment.
Next, diversity recruiting is not lowering quality.
Okay, well, not in this particular thing, but in your own document. You talked about altering the work environment so that everyone is successful. Instead of trying to, quote unquote, fix an employee, whatever that means, or an employee who is underperforming, let's say, instead, you want to alter the work environment so that every employee is successful. How can that not be interpreted as lowering the bar? I mean, as I was reading it, I couldn't think of another way to achieve that outcome where every employee is successful unless you're lowering the bar of expectations. But okay, diversity recruiting is not about lowering quality. Okay, so what is it?
Meritocracy is related to the selection of individuals based on their ability.
Yes, in simple terms, yes.
Diversity recruiting does not prevent meritocracy.
What are you filtering people through before you get to the meritocratic process? We've already been over this, okay? If you're going to tell me that, after we've filtered for this demographic consideration, what results we're now going to apply meritocracy to, that does not absolve you of the original sin of discrimination in the first place. Is that what you're about to tell me?
It actually just levels the playing field so that individuals have fair access to demonstrate their ability.
Yes, and that is just double talk for discriminating at the outset. That's all that says. And if I am operating under a misapprehension, if I am still fueled by myth in that assessment, okay, our speaker is doing nothing to dispel it. Absolutely nothing to dispel it.
And to be selected based on their knowledge, skills, and experience only.
only after they've been selected on the basis of their demographic, on the basis of their position within underrepresented demographics or groups, or however you want to phrase it, right?
You will rarely be able to assess true talents and abilities of individuals if the hiring process includes a bias-infused obstacle course for candidates from marginalized populations.
So, okay, so instead you remove the obstacle course, which you assume exists for marginalized populations, and you instead build a barrier for people that do not fall within quote unquote marginalized populations, so that your talent pool represents marginalized populations, and then you will apply a meritocratic process. Are you? You do not defeat discrimination with discrimination. You do not defeat racism by employing racism or sexism or any other ism where you're assessing someone on something that has nothing to do with their ability or character. You're not convincing me of anything beyond what I already assumed about the process. Zero.
Now, do me a favor, drop me a comment and let me know what other misconceptions have you had to navigate.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done. Yeah, this went on a lot longer than I thought it would. Well, of course, the checklist in the middle, I didn't expect. I didn't see that coming. So, yeah, 5 myths about diversity, equity, inclusion, hiring that were 100% not dispelled or countermanded by anything our speaker had to say. And in fact, were more enhanced by it than anything else. I know from things people have said offline to me, I know a lot of you people, a lot of you may think that I'm being disingenuous when I say I am looking to have my mind changed. Okay, and I can understand it. Why subject myself to this all the time? Why make a joke out of it? I can't help but laugh. It's sort of like, sitting in a lawn chair watching the end of the world come along. But I would like to know, there was, you have to go back way in my library for this, but there was a panel discussion about diversity hiring, if you can believe it. And this is, I think, one of the earliest, no, I think it was a scripted one. Either way, it was a 4 or 5 women on the panel, and they're talking about diversity hiring. And of the 4 people who were being interviewed, 3 of them down the line started giving out the same old yarn about what diversity and equity inclusion hiring is, this, that, and the other. But the fourth lady came out and says, well, diversity hiring in my company is what we try to focus on is giving people who have backgrounds that include a criminal conviction a second chance. And she went on like talking about actually opening up the talent pool to people, but not restricting them based on something they had done. It was sort of like the second chance meritocracy kind of thing. It's like, okay, you made one mistake. Does that preclude you from being employed by our company? And then they actually looked at the person and tried to look past the conviction for everything else. And I was like, this lady is a saint. So if our speaker had come out and said what diversity and equity and inclusion hiring could look like, and she went off on something like that, I'd be singing her praises. Because I don't know. Because these interpretations vary one to the other. And it was that panel discussion, honestly, that put the seed of doubt in my mind every time I come across a new person who is talking about this subject. I keep wondering, is this going to be the new trend? Is this person going to tell me something that sounds absolutely reasonable? And is that going to be the new trend in this kind of subject matter? But every time I come across one, I'm like, nope, so I hold out hope. I mean, if I want to blame someone for putting me on the path to continually looking at this stuff, I guess it was that one lady who said something reasonable and put the seed of doubt in my mind that this is entirely a bad thing or this is entirely a snake oil situation. But anyway, that's all I really had. I'll say a few more hellos to those of you that popped in here. Mr. E, Joel McLaughlin, I, Vercingetorix, Pi Guy 07, if I didn't already, Renovatio, Data Wasteland, who else? Jay Hess, Brandon Froster, Anybody else? Andrew Joyner. I think that's everybody. Oh, Mass Creation Broadcasts. If I missed anyone else, I apologize. But again, this was just an off-the-cuff kind of thing. Went on much longer than I thought it would, but I'm going to wrap it up here. Programming note, I'll be doing my Sunday stream tomorrow, Sunday, if you can believe it, at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. And I'll give you a free preview of the subject matter, which unfortunately is kind of like this, but more intensified. Faculty hiring, ensuring diversity, equity, and inclusion from the job description to the offer. A panel discussion about hiring in schools. That the video itself goes on for just under an hour. We'll see how long I get through it tomorrow, but maybe we'll get some extra details with some extra time. I don't know. If that's interesting to you, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. Or if not, I can understand. This is mind-numbing stuff sometimes, but I want to make sure I'm not 100% off kilter when I hear it. So anyway, everyone, thank you for joining me for this impromptu broadcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to retweet content from creators that you appreciate, whether it's me or anybody else. They appreciate it and they like it, and oftentimes they will let you know that they appreciate it. I will too. So thank you. Thank you all for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very little to do. Everyone who donated, thank you. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. Hope you all have a good rest of your Saturday and your weekend and your 3-day weekend if you happen to have President's Day off. But if not, either way, I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.